Sexism, racism play themselves out in different ways in this industry. Men want to make you a trophy, want to do all kinds of weird stuff with you. Knowing what you're called to do, it's a blessing and a curse.
It's time to inspire, to take you higher and help you achieve your desires. Good evening and welcome to Visionaries Lounge. I hope you saw what I just did then. I recited a bit of a poem and I'm trying to impress my guest this evening. She is a poet, she's a media personality, a writer, a mom, and so many other things. Allow me to introduce Lebo Mashile. Lebo, how did I do on a scale of 1 to 10? How was my poem?
Must I answer like for real?
Oh my God, you're not even gonna pretend and lie just because you're my guest. Some friends you
I apologize, I apologize.
Please, we still have a whole show to do, please. I'm just kidding, I'm just playing around with you. But speaking of playing around,
Yes.
let's talk about you as a child, growing up. You grew up in the US, which part?
I grew up in a city called Providence, Rhode Island. It's in New England. It's on the northeast of the US, on the Atlantic coast. So I spent a lot of summers by the beach. I grew up with very, very cold winters and snow, which wasn't fun because you had to stay indoors. Providence was full of immigrants, you know. Now, looking back on it as an adult, I realized that, oh gosh, I was exposed to a lot of diversity as a kid, you know. There was so many different communities, people from Southeast Asia, Caribbeans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, you know. So, I mean, I definitely felt different because there wasn't a huge South African community. When we wanted to connect to South Africans, we would go to Boston or go to New York, you know, where there were big, thriving South African communities.
And what brought your family there? I believe your parents were exiles.
Yeah, my father left so he could study. He wanted to do engineering and he couldn't do it in South Africa as a black person in the late 60s. My mother left following 1977. Yeah, so she was, between the two, I mean, she was really more of an activist. She was studying law at the University of the North, and her studies were interrupted. You know, she couldn't go back to school like a lot of people. And I think the choice for her was between, like, do I go to jail and stay here and not finish, or do I leave? So she left. And they met in 78. I followed very quickly there after 79.
Boom,
I'm here. Yeah.
On the day she was born, on the 7th of February, it was a very cold day and snowing outside. And was alelwa a Port Harcourt Memorial Hospital.
Any siblings or your only child?
I've got two sisters. We had three. So I have an older sister who my mom already had when she traveled to the US. And then I'm in the middle, and then I have a younger sister, Tab.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in the US? You know, we watch TV and then we just think you like bump into Martin Lawrence, or you walk around, there's Will Smith. Hi, Will Smith. And it goes States, and we think it's like this one place where everybody sees each other. What was it like, though?
It's a hard question to answer because I think everybody has their own relationship with America, you know? And for a lot of South Africans, and I think people around the world, it's a love-hate relationship. Even for me, right? We consume a lot of American culture, but we have issues with, you know, the way America dominates the world and all of that, imperialism, So, I think for me, growing up in America helped me to understand that the struggles that black people were experiencing in South Africa were not unique, you know, that America itself had a similar history, that black people all over the world are dealing with issues of dispossession, issues of slavery, issues of colonialism, issues of being marginalized, you know. So the very same reasons that made it so that my parents had to be there and my family had to be there, I could also see reflected in the stories around me, you know. So it made me locate my own identity as a South African, as a kind of global experience, you know? Okay, it's not just us. Actually, this thing, yeah, it's a hala. This is what the black experience is.
But did you get that revelation in hindsight as an adult, or were you fully aware of your situation, even as a youngster growing up?
We had to be. I mean, you know, when South Africa would come on the news, you know, the mood in my house would change. And my parents would have to explain to very little children, like, what was going on, you know? And for Bona, I don't think they could never really articulate what was happening inside of them in their hearts, you know? But I could see, like, okay, the mood kamuntlung e changile, you know? That I could make sense of later. But I grew up very politicized. Like, we were constantly being told, like, this is why we are here, this is what's happening at home. You know, we referred to South Africa as high. You know, when somebody called, it was somebody from home calling. So I felt kind of like I was moving in between two worlds, you know. There was the world in my house, you know, where we like ate pap and stamp and, you know, spoke Sesotho to each other. And then there was the world in the street and with my friends, which was a completely different world.
I so admire that your parents were still able to teach you Sesotho. Because, I mean,
it's my own little Doji Sesotho. It's all like,
but the desire is there. The desire is there. It's very important.
Yeah, I mean,
because when you came home, I mean, I remember when you first came in, we were like, who's this? Who is she? She's got this American accent.
Actually, when you saw me on TV, we had already been back like 7 years.
Really?
7, 8 years. We came back in '95. I was 16. Hello, South Africa. Welcome to Drawing the Line. I hope you are enjoying a fabulous Sunday lunch. I will as soon as I get home. I started performing in 2000. I started working on television in like 2004. So we'd been back nearly 10 years when I kind of
blew up.
Yeah.
But what was it like first coming back home? Because a lot of people that you speak to, especially children of exiles and the like, will come back and say you have this sense of nostalgia of this home you did not know but you imagined. And when you come here, the shock of sometimes people rejecting you, like, no, you twang, and when I was such a sharp, I don't say be like you're foreign. What was it like for you?
She really didn't feel, you know, that coming back she was always saying that I don't even know South Africa.
It was like surreal. Not can accept believe we're moving. My mother is taking away all these things that I know. My mother is born as an intelligent person.
When we came back in 1995, the country was in transition. My family was in transition, you know? So there was this euphoria happening in the country. Everybody was happy. Woo, it was just after the World Cup and here and here and here and here. And here we are, like little Americans transitioning back to Soweto. My parents were splitting up. We're staying in a back room. My grandparents'
talk about culture shock.
Imagine, and then putting on a uniform for the first time in my life, being bused to the other side of the universe to go to private school for the first time in my life. So, I mean, it was like coming from a different world, but also moving in different worlds.
And in the same place.
In the same place. And realizing that there were other kids who were going through the same thing, you know? There were other kids who were who were also staying in Soweto, waking up
going to the multiracial
going to the multiracial
with white people there. Wow.
Definitely.
Isn't it interesting that in the midst of that turmoil and uncertainty and conflict internally and externally, therein lay your destiny?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, I want to leave it there at that point, because I want to talk about what exactly that destiny entailed, how you got into poetry, how you got into media, and how you became this Lebo that we know today. So you're going to have to stay with us, I'm afraid. See you in just a moment. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, I just wish that you were privy to some of the conversations that happened while you're on break, because this woman is such a dynamic powerhouse. I mean, the insight, the knowledge, the articulacy of some of the concepts that we speak about, Lebo, you're more than just a pretty face. Like, where does it come from? How does it, do you sit down and think, how do I just throw out those terms?
No, I don't. I've always been a weirdo. I mean, I remember when Facebook came out and I could like finally like trace, you know, some of the kids that I grew up with in the US, and they were like, wow, this is what you're doing now? But you've always been like this. You'd come to school and talk about what was on the news, and we were like,
and what? We're like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But they could see it in you.
They could see it.
Yeah.
They could see it. I think, you know, like knowing what you're called to do or having an identity that kind of bursts out of the seams, out of the box, you know, it's a blessing and a curse, you know. Some people can handle it, some people can't handle it. Some teachers can handle it, some teachers can't handle it. School was a very tricky experience for me, you know. And I had a handful of teachers who really affirmed me and really got me, you know. But I think most of my teachers just endured having me around.
You just didn't fit into the box.
And I'm here. Like, no, actually, I don't agree. This is that and that and that and blah, and that's a lie. And why is it in the book?
You know, Lebo, when you speak, it says to me that this is something that is inborn. This is a passion that is inborn. But I want to know when you discovered, you know what? I think I'm a poet. I think I'm an activist. I think I can go into TV. Speak to me about those milestones.
So I was studying BA in Law and International Relations at Wits. And the first couple of years were great, you know. I could kind of sneak in some philosophy and sneak in some English lit and, you know, so I was like doing okay. And then by the time I just had to concentrate on my majors, I was like, oh my God, what have I done with my life? And the hands of God, literally, like, I discovered the Johannesburg underground, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, I mean, it was a very dynamic time in the country, you know. Youth culture was exploding, alternative cultures.
We were finding our voices.
We were finding our voices, and there were all these interesting, quirky, creative spaces that you could go to in the city, you know. I mean, every single night of the week, you could go somewhere and see live art, you know, live music or comedy or poetry. When I saw poetry, I was like, whoa. These people, they take their journals from under their beds and they read them to people. Like, for real, is that a thing? Is this what people do with their lives? What? You know? And I've followed the poetry scene like religiously and worked up the courage to eventually recite a poem one day and never stopped.
Every child, my child, is wrapped in a ribbon of rhythm. Every child, my child, is wrapped in a ribbon of rhythm. Every child, my child, is wrapped in a ribbon of rhythm, wrapped in a ribbon of rhythm, wrapped in a ribbon of rhythm.
My family was like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, your mother is a single mother. Model C,
all of that, and then you want to go.
You want to go and be an ashy artist, broke.
Yeah, the dirty look.
Yeah, the dirty look. You want to go and be broke. What's your problem? What is wrong with you? It was like I had a
breakdown. They were like, you're not okay.
They were like, you're not okay.
You're not okay. We understand. We'll fix you.
Something is going on. We'll pray for you.
I can understand, though.
We'll do whatever.
I can understand. Now go, and now you're like, no, power to the people. And they're just like, you've lost the plot.
I was on my own mission and found a community of young people who were also on that mission as well. So that was great. That became our thing.
When does latitude come on? Because let me tell you, you made poetry so sexy. It's not even funny. Because we thought poetry, we thought Shakespeare, maybe Mzwake Mbuli, not Mzwake, but yeah.
Yeah, but
Mzwake, yeah. African, Ken. And then this beautiful yellow bone, smart, you know, vivacious woman comes and you're throwing these bombastic words at her, and we're like, oh, hell, hold on. Say what?
If I was born to be a traveler with curiosity, and show my people pushing passion, pride, and let my journey be across the spaces that divide us, the spaces that confine us, the spaces that define love, call out and make us rise up.
I had been performing on the poetry scene for a couple of years, and I was a part of a poetry collective called Feel a Sister, which also kind of exploded onto the national landscape. So a lot of things were happening for me at the same time, you know. I started acting, and it was in that phase where the opportunity to work for the SABC and with a company called Curious Pictures at the time to develop Latitude. One day, amazing woman, Karima Brown, who I love and adore and I'll never forget, was working at Curious, and the briefs had come out from the SABC. They wanted to create a new show. She was like, I think you'd be perfect. Come and work with these people. Figure out, let's build a show. So we built Latitude from scratch, you know.
But you know, with all your successes and your many achievements, and I mean, we can go on and on, the list is endless. You've put an anthology of poetry together. You know, you went from strength to strength and glory to glory. But at the same time, the shock of success, the pitfalls of being in the public eye. And I want to talk about body image when we get there, because people feel like they own you when they see you every day. You're reciting
they
poetry.
Grab your hair, they tell you about your butt, they tell you about your skin,
and they tell you the way they think. You know, you're too fat or too thin or too tall or too short. How did that affect you?
Okay, so the two biggest public battles around my weight were with one particular individual who is a creative actor / writer who, you know, at the best of times, I've never really rated this person, because when I started out on the poetry scene, this guy would stand up, go to sessioning, open a GQ article and read it. Like, just so, I mean, he was never really somebody on my radar. You know, I'm not blind, but I was always like, hey, Lorna.
And you just think he's a creative. Let me just
excuse him.
I'm not the target audience.
He has his place, but mine is over there. So then this guy wakes up one day and decides that he's going to write a column about how fat I am.
A whole column.
But, you know, a whole column. Like, can you imagine sitting in front of your computer? I'm dedicating my time.
I'm going to write about Lebo
to talk about how fat Lebo Mashile is of all the things going on in the world. Yummy. And the reaction to the way that I look was pretty much like immediate.
Wow.
Immediate. I mean, never mind like my identity, my accent, Just my body was like, why do you occupy space in this big body? Why do you think you have a right to be on TV in this big body?
How can you be great and not fit our ideal of what beautiful should look like in terms of body?
How can you not feel bad about yourself every day in this big body? Who do you think you are?
I was actually very surprised, because I remember reading the aftermath, and I was very surprised that you took offense to the fact that they made you
Because I live and I work in this body. You know, if somebody sees me on the cover of a magazine and then gigging and I'm a different person, it looks like I've consented to this, or like something had drastic has happened to me.
Don't approve of the way you look.
Exactly.
High five. Quick ad break. When we come back, I want to know what else you've got up your sleeve. I want to know what else you're going to be doing, because you're a busy woman. Okay, let's leave it there. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are just having so much fun behind the scenes level. It is very impossible to think that there could be even more fun coming up. So, but to my left,
when
I'm seeing a certain something here that describes your feistiness. In fact, but
because I'm short.
Because you're pint-sized, but you pack a mean punch.
You got to.
When did you start boxing?
I started boxing a couple of years ago. During that time of the During that time, I was actually training with a trainer who got me into boxing, and I fell in love with it. And it's the best stress relief, actually, you know? You have a hard day, and you go and you take it out on the bags, and then you don't take it out on people at home, you know? So I stopped for a while because I had a baby, but I've started up again recently, which is amazing. I do it with my son. He loves it.
Moya's 5 now.
Moya's
5, people.
He's a big man of 5. Can you imagine?
Oh, my goodness.
Can you imagine?
He's all grown. What's it like being mommy? You know, when you're young and you're this carefree rebel, baba feiliba, you know, you're just like, I just want to be one with the earth. And then now you must be a mom now, eh? There's the school run, little parents meeting. You can't just be a renegade.
The school runs. I go to meetings, parents meeting like this. Yeah, Afro, little all-stars, and my tattoos, and I'm there. School fees again, we're there, you know?
They must just be strong.
They must just be strong.
Yeah.
No, I mean, he's fantastic. He's here like me.
I wonder why.
Non-stop.
I just don't know where he gets it from.
Hands. He's so expressive. He's funny. His clarity, like his insights into things is just extraordinary. I mean, kids, they hit the nail on the head, huh?
Yeah.
Like when you can't really... You can't be
nothing
evasive.
escapes them. You can tell them one thing and they can read your body language and
be like, that's a lie.
Yeah.
And ask you the same question 5 times.
Oh, wow.
You know, he's that guy and he's in the why phase. So everything is why.
Why, mommy?
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
On a personal front, though, Libs, What is still on your things to do list or list of things to do? Like, do you want to, I don't know, travel, or do you want to get another tattoo? I don't know. What is on your list?
All of the above. I would love to travel for pleasure. I mean, I've been to 23 countries now, which is amazing. I've had a very, very, very blessed life and blessed career, but I'd love to travel for pleasure.
Lebza? You know, I've got to, just before we say goodbye, ask you for like a line or two of your favorites. I can invite us, not a dinner party. We didn't even give you food. So,
You didn't even tell me.
You know what? You know what?
Where are you?
Because
you should have told me.
I'm a representative of everybody who's here. People, you must know. I'm surrounded by producers. Little man, don't shoot the message. Barkona, please mokopa RFM tasting, and otherwise they'll be asking you latitude.
My brain goes blank.
Does it go blank?
Now. What must I do? What must I do? Wait. In light of the conversation we were having before the show started, right? Okay. This is a poem that I wrote for a play that I was in about Pamela Nomvete's life. I was playing her. She was in this hectic relationship with this guy who was like cheating on her and what. And then, of course, like witchcraft gets involved, right? So there's a scene in the play where I say this. Who of you will judge me? Christian, Hindu, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish? Who of you does not approach your God through ritual? Call it meditation, prayer, incense, or incantations. Call it Sabbath, Ash Wednesday, fasting, or sacrifice. Call out a pantheon of gods and goddesses, or call out just one name. Muti is the protection God promised, the rock upon which all desperation rests. Muti is the spirit that carries the feet of the weary from a corner of refuge to every corner of the cosmos, making enemies cower with simple prayers. I do not walk alone. You use it. You steam in it. You bathe in it. You lather it on your skin. You smoke it, blow it, ingest it, digest it, expel it, and then repel it in public. But I know you. I know what's in your bags and belts, on your eyebrows and mustaches. That is the sparkle of roots and herbs anointed with purpose from the ground. Are we not from the ground? Do we not return to the ground when we expire? Intention married with life force is creation. Over steaming pots of boiling herbs, my God creates. My God sweats. My God works. Muti works. You know it. She knows it. She was using it too.
I was almost in a trance. Lebo. Thank you, my darling.
Thank you so much.
for
This was
gracing
such
us
a
with your
gift.
presence.
Thank you to
Thank
the
you
whole
for
team.
watching. I mean, we need to leave it at some point. Otherwise, I suppose we'll start a whole new conversation just about that poem that you recited, because it was deep. It was very, very deep. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's do it again next week. Good night. God bless.
Oh, thank you, Angel.
Oh my goodness.
Fun.
Oh my
So much
goodness.
fun.
Oh my goodness.
That was so amazing. Every time you are doing something that is making an impact, the choir has to speak. That is their job. If they are not reacting, then it means you're not doing anything of any significance. So if you are encountering resistance, if you are fighting wars, if you feel isolated, if you feel alone, and you know that what you're doing in your heart is your heart's desire, keep doing it. You'll also be met with angels who will support you and who will guide you and who will feed you with love and inspiration. Those voices, they never, ever, 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 ever go away. But if you learn to make peace with them and with their role in your life, they become a measure for the kind of impact that you are making. There'll always be haters. That's their job. That's what they're there for. You do yours, they do theirs. Thank you.